Alright, so picking up where we left off last night with oil squirting all over the place. If you take a look at these push rods, and it's not touching, but it is very close. And this one's got a decent gap. We came and take a look at these two, and the gaps are even. So what we need to do is, I've already loosened the bolt here, but we need to take a punch and just tap it that way till the push rods are centered, or the head is, the runner is centered between the push rods. And all the other ones look good except for this one also, and this one. These two over here both need to get tapped towards the front, and that one needs to get tapped towards the back, and we'll see what happens after that. So I found a photo of one of the repair manuals. It says, oh, I hate GoPros. They don't zoom. My phone zooms better than this. But it says 24 foot-pounds. What does it say? Let me read it. 33 Newton meters, or 24 foot-pounds, pound-feet. And then tighten an additional 90 degrees. Focus. And you want to do it gradually, just like that picture said too that you couldn't read. Boom, 24. Boom. Boom. Check this one again. Okay. And that is not very tight at all, guys. Just FYI. And now for the extra 90, I'm just going to keep it simple. So right here, and then even with the rocker shaft. Now that feels better. Click. There we go. Start there. Boom. Uno más. Boom. Yay! Starting with the rocker shaft. There we go. Now let's get there. Nice. I'm the worst. I gotta stop putting tools on this thing. Last one. Okay. Boom. Go for it. Alright. So it's coming out of here and here and here now, just like it's supposed to. There was no awesome stream. Yeah, it's coming out of in between the rockers just like it's supposed to. Fixed one side, let's check the other, babe. Right there, you can see that casting. That's where the oil's coming up, and then it's opposite on the other side, but I scooted that one over too. Go ahead. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Talking to the camera, not you.
Sorry.
I'll shout stop. How's that?
Okay. Good?
Yes. There we go. Plenty of oil coming out. It's looking cleaner and cleaner. Stop! Yeah, we're looking good. It's looking cleaner and cleaner. So here's a little tip: lift up on these, and then these things were going right in. Pretty sure I put these on the right side. Oops. Good thing I noticed it when I only started one bolt. That's silly. Gotta flip that over. It's hard to tell until you get the valve cover, my bad. Alright, we're gonna lay in this harness before we get the intake manifold on. Don't forget to put the spark plugs in. These are supposed to be gapped according to the sticker from 052 to 056. And I did get Motorcraft SP500s, but the gaps are all pretty small, so they're all at about 44. I gotta make them all 53 is what I'm choosing. Two up. Alright, I think it's finally time to see if I can get this intake manifold on. It's got to stay. Let's see if... Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, that was way less painful than expected. I forgot to put some lube on that guy, dang it. Bam. Yes, sir. Very nice. So we'll tighten these bolts down first, then we'll tighten up this heater pipe and the dipstick tube. Alright, so I'm working on the last of it now. Just in the middle of taking all these little things off and on and off and on again because you routed them wrong, and there's another piece that's got to go behind another piece, and you know, the normal stuff, which in this case is the vacuum tubing. Then once we hook the vacuum tubing up, I've got all the harness plugged in except for the air intake tube, and then I've got to throw on the AC compressor here, plug that in, and then I think we'll be ready to fire this thing up. Et voila! Alright guys, here we go, first startup. Got everything done except for putting on the fan and the coolant, and in the front drive, because the front drive and belt won't be here for another day or maybe two. So we're not putting on the fan or the front drive, there's no coolant. I still am going to back flush the heater core and flush out the radiator too, so but we should still be able to fire it off. I've got everything hooked up and it should run. Might just have to turn the key a couple times to get the fuel in. Okay, here we go. All right, baby, let it rip. What was that? What was that? Fired right up though. Yeah! Woo! Let's turn it on again. Let's see what happens. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. It doesn't want to start back up now. What's that about? Yeah, there was a little bit of air in the fuel rail, maybe that. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. You think that might have something to do with it? Let's find a ground for this on the head, probably. Back of the head, probably. So I guess the camera, I forgot the camera's already rolling. But no, that fixing that ground wire didn't work at all. It's still doing the same thing. So, fun. Fun, fun. Let me know what you think that is, why you think it started, and why it won't start now. Because I have no idea what to do from here other than just start taking everything back apart, and that's not really ideal, right? Hey guys, next morning. How lucky do you think we got that just unplugging the battery was gonna make this thing work for us? I don't like that I heard that pop. I'm thinking I might have to take the valve covers off, and I don't know, hopefully nothing broke in the valve train. Well, let's tighten these up, see what works. No. Start by taking off the easy side. Okay, so here's what I've done so far. I checked for spark first, had it, made sure I had fuel, plenty of it squirted out of there, relays clicking, got fuel and spark, what's going on. I popped the intake, or just this tube that was here, and a bunch of vapor, probably fuel vapor I imagine, just came barreling out of the intake. And that was, I have no idea. I don't even know what to think about that. It's crazy. Is it flooding with fuel? I don't know. So then I pull off the valve cover and I spin the crank by hand, make sure it's connected, and it was. Everything's rolling over. So then we cranked it again without fuel or spark, and just to listen to the compression during the cranking, and it sounds like it's got all 8 cylinders still. Wow, 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 wow. Sounds super healthy, right? And we know it fired up and ran healthy. So then I take off the intake manifold, because I'm going to take off this side to make sure these rockers are all moving good. And I noticed this whole thing is loose. It had loosened up. Somehow every one of these bolts were loose. I unscrewed this one. No Loctite. I think I need to use a different method. I have to, the doubling up the nut on these obviously wasn't a good idea. I'm gonna have to find internal Torx socket and torque these to what they're supposed to be with Loctite this time. So maybe because of this huge air gap, somehow it wasn't, all that unmetered air, it just wasn't starting. I don't know what the pop was. Was it just I don't know. Because they don't feel stripped, right? They all thread right back in. Maybe that'll fix it. I'm gonna go find the right sockets and some more Loctite, and then we'll slap everything back together. All right, I got everything buttoned up again like it was before. Still no coolant. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but I tightened the studs down to 15 foot-pounds, and then I tightened the nuts on top of the studs down to 18, which is what a guy in a blog said somewhere. So I don't know what happened the first time. Maybe they were too tight, and they popped loose, pulled a thread, but I didn't see any metal shavings around the thread, so it didn't look like that's what happened. I'm almost wondering if they weren't tight enough, and when I was using that impact on the nuts, it kind of vibrated the stud loose into the nut instead of tightening the nut onto the stud. I don't know, but let's give it a shot. Hang on. This is why I wanted to do the jobs separately. I did not want to do timing and heads at the same time. Well, I guess you better tear into the front of it. That's the only thing to do, is to see if it jumped time. I don't see how that could have happened. The chain's not even long enough to jump time. Skip over, but I need an energy drink first anyway. Okay, this is where we're at. I've got everything back off, I got the intake manifold back off and the timing cover off, and then I've got the alternator out of the way just so I can see a little better, and the AC compressor back off so I can see a little better. What I want to do is, and it's in time, by the way, it's still dot to dot, and I didn't think it could skip a tooth. But what I want to do is crank it without the intake manifold on and see if it still has that stuck cylinder, like it gets stuck on one of the cylinders. And if it's still doing that, then we'll take the valve covers off and see what's underneath the valve covers again, because I never looked under this one again. Yeah, no fuel injectors are hooked up. I took the fuel pump relay out, and obviously no spark plugs, or no spark to the spark plugs. The plugs are still in, so we should still hear compression. I'm a little worried about spinning that crank around without pulley on it. I don't want this to walk out. We got that on so that bottom sprocket won't walk out now. Now let's listen, see if it still gets stuck on a cylinder. Okay, that sounds good, right? That sounds good. It's not getting stuck on one cylinder. That's a huge relief. I don't know why, but it seems like it's less likely something mechanical is broken. Intake is off. It's still under compression. What was it that was getting stuck? What was making it stuck? There's no coolant. It's not hydrolocking, even if the cylinder was cracked still. Fuel and the vapor that came out of there, it's got to have something to do with those new injectors, I bet. That's the only thing that's different, other than the new heads. No, I doubt it's the injectors. What was the pop, you know? Because it actually kept running after the pop. I'm the one that turned the key off. Yep. So I pulled the spark plugs out and they are looking terrible. These are brand new. And they look like, I think it's fuel. Like soot. GoPro doesn't focus that well, but yeah, these are wet, smelly, with fuel. Go ahead and crank it. Let's see if anything shoots out of those spark plug holes. It shouldn't really, it's been cranking fine, but I'm just curious. And then we'll check compression on all of them, make sure they're all the same. Alright. Yeah, seems totally normal. Everything's operating fine. No weird sounds. You know, I'm almost wondering if the exhaust got clogged. But I don't know, with seeing how much gas is on those spark plugs and the fact that we changed injectors, the fact that this rail was loose after the pop, I'm almost wondering if the pop was a backfire from too much fuel, pulled the thread just enough to loosen them or something. And that might explain why that's loose. Might explain the pop. It might explain the spark plugs being soaking wet. So what do you think? Should we put in the old injectors and put everything back together? I think mechanically it's sound. It's in time, all the rockers are moving, there's no weird sounds. Has compression. We're gonna double check the actual compression, but yeah, I think we should switch injectors. Alright, well I don't have, the threads are in there too deep for my adapter to reach, so I'm just gonna try to use this guy and get the best we can. Go. That's not even, I can't even get it to register. It's just blowing me out. Alright, let's try again. Go. Nope, I can't even hold it under hard enough. Well, I was getting the same amount of suction from what I could tell anyways on all 6 holes, which means I probably got okay at least, you know, compression. I mean, we already heard it run. It started up and it ran, and then something happened and it's not. So my only concern was that it was mechanical from that pop. But yeah. Well, that's gonna do it for tonight, guys.